Hello, everybody, and welcome to Recorder on the Wall. I am Aubrey Massey.
And I'm Portobello, aka Hana.
I am Diggs the Bold, also known as Eric Jaimez.
And we're here to take over this podcast permanently. Unfortunately, we've just the normal hosts of this podcast have suddenly just needed to step away for unknown reasons that you could not prove in a court of law if you wanted to. But that's what's going on here.
I finally got on my bindings. Hey, I'm Pete.
That gag was filthy.
No, I watched it beforehand. I mean, I have no idea what you're talking about.
And I managed to escape. Ha ha ha! I did not actually end up getting tied up. I'm Katie.
And yeah, if it isn't already, folks, this is the part 2 of our fanfiction special we have from the other cast. If you give a mouse a dagger, the crew who just introduced themselves. I've wanted these guys on almost since I found out about them, and am totally not jealous of a better name that they thought of after us. But
aw, shucks.
No, but I've been wanting to have you guys on for a while because I play tabletop myself, and I'm still learning about Fate Core. My local buddies and I, we bought the Dresden Files game, and we're kind of still staring at like, what is this? So,
oh man, I've been wanting to play those forever.
Yeah. But when I found out there was a Redwall cast on Fate, I'm like, oh, these guys need to be on the show because I have questions, such questions.
Well,
but
hopefully we have answers. Yeah, we're very happy.
Hopefully,
but. Because maybe not, we have mentioned you on our show before. Just hey, there's another guy going on. There's another Redwall cast, yay! But I don't think we went into any great detail. So, in whatever way you want to condense this or talk about your cast, how did you get up with the idea to make a playthrough cast, or what do you want to call it, tabletop?
An actual play podcast is like that's kind of the classification that it would fall into. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And I mean, why pick Redwall? Why this fandom?
Okay.
Aubrey.
Yeah, this is a question for me. Yeah, so honestly, it started because actually all of us were big fans of, the McElroy products that they put out there. And I don't know. Yeah, like the Adventure Zone,
yes.
My Brother and Me, all of these.
Love
those. Right.
And
at some point in one of their many, many podcasts, Griffin joked about how he would play the out of a Redwall RPG. And then I went,
remember that.
Yeah. And then I went,
wow.
Wouldn't everybody? Like wouldn't everybody? And then so.
He mentioned it to me at like some point in the kitchen. And I was just like, we have to.
We were talking about possible future campaigns. They'll be playing a Wednesday game together, and as soon as he mentioned fantasy animal RPG, I was so down for it.
Yeah, and we've played with a bunch of different systems in our regular Wednesday games that we've done before. We've played D&D, we've played Monster of the Week, we've done Fate before, and we were just looking through all of these different systems, and we decided, wow, Fate is the perfect medium in order to get this setting through. And then, just the more we joked around about it and said, I think, man, wouldn't this make a good podcast? And everybody was like, yeah, this would make a good podcast. Well, we're already making one. So with that's Monster of the Week actual play, and why don't we just, get some other people? So we took Hana and Eric and Hana's sister Tessa, who's unfortunately not on this podcast today, but we got these, this group of people together, and then we just started having fun with it, and now it is what it is.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. I mean, my start was myself and Jeremy, who's my main podcasting partner. He's not on today. We had been running the Frustrated Fans, which is a general nerdcast, for a while, and I was like, I started listening to the Turtle Soup show, which is Ninja Turtles from front to start, like all the way from the original, and then Morph Club, which I mentioned earlier off air, which is now completed Animorphs cast that started from book 1 and went through everything, including the terrible TV show. And I was like, I can do that. Grad school's over. I have free time.
Oh, jeez.
So I was like, yeah, I can do that. And I grabbed Jeremy, who is always a long-term fan of Redwall, and I'm like, hey, let's do this. And then I put out a feeler on the Redwall subreddit, and that's how Matthias got involved.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
And then Katie emailed us, and we're like, sure, come on.
Yes. I just stalked you through email. Stalk. Not really.
So I have to ask, what it ultimately chose to do, like a far future setting versus like within one of the books.
Well, so when I was creating this setting, I was thinking about how this product needed to be our own. All 4 of us that are on it are very creative people, and we've always been very creative people. Whereas, Han and I are both music teachers, and Tessa does theater, and Eric, through he may not do something creative for a living, but just he's been our longtime GM in a lot of other games we've played, and he's phenomenal at it. We're very good at creating new stories, and I was afraid that if we did something within the span of the actual Redwall books that have been published, it would we'd mess something up terribly. Like we would just either through actions. I would rather not have some type of alternate history kind of setting that happens where we would play within one of the books of Redwall, and then a character would make a decision that would be really awesome for a podcast, but would anger people who were fans of the Redwall series for just changing it. And so with a far future setting, what we can do is still pay ode to the books themselves and the history of it, and base the world on that history, all of the facts that happen in the book, but then from there create our own story. So, like the whole plot is that the 3 characters are trying to find Redwall Abbey that has been long lost. And so that's put in there. And there's already been some locations that are still the same locations, like Salamandastron, but it's going to be a little bit different because it's so far in the future and things have changed. And that gives us more space to play in. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
There's some more like opportunities we can, like more teaching moments that are relevant to this day and age that maybe weren't at the time that the original Redwall was built. So we've already subtly addressed like pollution and racism and stuff like that, which is fun.
Even featuring a species that, to my knowledge, and bear in mind, I never finished reading the franchise. I will through the course of this podcast, but I don't remember a hamster in there at all.
There is one.
No.
There's one in Tris.
Oh,
That's all I know.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, point proven. So.
Yeah, I decided early on that I just really wanted to be a hamster, and I was like, please, Aubrey.
That's awesome.
It'd be perfect.
Well, I mean, you definitely have my interest because, we know Redwall Abbey's lost, but as of this recording, we're recording this on right before April. Your episode 5's out of 6 for this first storyline, and we just heard kind of just a hint of what might have happened to Salamandastron. So,
right. Of course, those are spoilers to. I'm not going to tell. No, those aren't spoilers for now. But those are I'm not going to tell you what had happened yet.
I'm looking forward to hearing from the story itself. So.
Me too.
Man, I thought we'd be able to press the end of Aubrey here for a second. Like, oh, what happened?
Yeah,
I need more information.
You can't try to get ahead of the story, Eric, using this podcast as a medium. No, but it's such a big place in the series that one has to be in there, right? I have to make sure that that's in there. But the next 2 locations that the party will go to that we've decided that we've done are going to be completely made up. That they're just new. I can't tell you exactly what they are, but they're new in our podcast and with the scope of Redwall. But they'll still have historical context based on the books and what's been going around there. So that's really fun.
Oh, it's glad to know.
Yeah.
Also, as a guy who's never read the Redwall and is just now starting on the first set of books, it is definitely a lot easier to roleplay a character that's like so far removed.
Honestly, I think you have a badger down. I really do.
Yes.
Well, more like just past teenager, young adult badger who hasn't quite learned their limitations yet. But still, yeah.
Yay, I'm glad that comes across with the character. That's not me at all. No.
Yeah. Well, it's another thing that we're trying to aim for with the story that we're creating is that, Redwall's full of a lot of stereotypes. I mean, there are a lot of stereotypes in there, and some of them are, they're not bad. Badgers they're the big burly folk filled with they're the most honorable animal out there. They're prone to fighting. They're great leaders, all of these other things. And so Diggs the Bold definitely still embodies that. But we're also trying to step away from the kinds of stereotypes that are all rats are evil, all weasels are evil, all foxes are trickster little things, and all mice are good, and so are all hedgehogs and things like that. We're trying to take a step back from that.
I definitely
Utopia.
appreciate that. I mean, we kind of addressed this briefly when we covered Outcast of Redwall, but one of the series' greatest failings is, and Brian admitted himself that he liked things to be generally simple, is that species equals alignment. There's very few gray characters. And there are some exceptions.
Right.
And Vale may have been one. He's kind of not well fleshed out. And
I would say if he was meant to be one, Jakes did a very bad job. Sorry, Jakes, but you did a very bad job.
And we have yet to get to Tagarong, who is going to be in a whole nother a couple of episodes for us to talk about this. And we're going to come up, spoilers if you haven't read Bellmaker, there is a gray character we'll be about to address in book 3 of that. So, but yeah, the series is generally stands to stick to what it knows. Even Soma Games, when we had them on our show, 6 months ago, for the video game, they even said that, they wanted to honor what Jakes was trying to set out, but they're still pushing the lines just a little. They're going to have they said they were going to have a couple of great characters in future installments. So.
Cool.
Awesome.
And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, we just decided to kick the mold apart. I mean, the militia chief of this series is a rat. Like, she's a very good person, like blatantly good. The villain is a mouse and is blatantly a bad person. And, we're just trying to move away from that. In the future, there might be like, I don't know, like a hedgehog villain or an otter villain or all these things that are typically more good, and we'll just have those as bad guys, and then but just try to mix it up.
Or even like characters who are not fully bad or fully good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of other species you could bring in here too. I mean, there is a book with the Wolverine. I know it exists. I haven't read it yet because it's near the end of the series. What else? There's one beaver in the original novel. So.
Right.
Oh, just you wait.
Oh.
Yeah.
Are we gonna get like North American animals or even Australian? So.
Oh, I wish I could tell you all about the things that I have in store, but what I will say is that there's no animal that's gonna be off the table. Like the only thing that's gonna make us say no is the size, like the sheer size of something. We're not gonna throw a lion in there, right? But I mean, anything that, things that.
I feel like if it has a pouch and or claws and a nose, those are all qualifying things.
Oh, they all have to have pouches now? I don't understand.
No, I'm saying like if they have a pouch though, then they can be considered, is what I meant.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We want a kangaroo friend.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's, doesn't terribly exceed the largest, animals in the series, like a badger, we might throw it in there. Oh, I can say that we're gonna introduce a chinchilla character soon.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, we recorded an episode very recently that had a chinchilla character in it that we just kind of made up off the spot. But we did it because we were like, this is the character that we want. Now, what animal is it? And we Googled animals for, I don't know, 5 minutes until we decided on that, oh, this character is definitely a chinchilla. And then we rolled with it from there.
Well, and it works too because that character is supposed to be kind of different and like certain,
Right.
like yeah. You'll see.
Now, without spoiling your own story here, can I ask if you're going to bring any reptiles or amphibians in?
Yeah, that's one that is a little bit tricky for me right now because, as we talked earlier, I don't want to play into stereotypes too hard or anything.
Mhm.
But in order to move the story forward right now, I can only see reptiles or amphibians. Well, not amphibians, but like reptiles is like bad. And so I have to find a way that it'll work with the story. I want to introduce all kinds of things. I want to introduce birds. I want to introduce fish because we haven't seen birds yet, technically, in this in our own fiction. So I just have to keep working with it. We're still new, but I am aiming to make it as diverse in the animal kingdom as possible, and maybe even highlight some more endangered species as I do more research to bring more awareness to them and all kinds of things. But I kind of need the school year to be over so I can do more work on it. It's kind of what I need right now.
You're almost there.
Yeah, almost there.
Hey, this is our last week of officially caring because we get judged at our competition this week. So that'll make it slightly better. Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. We're relying on a bunch of 7th and 8th grade kids. So that's reliable.
Can you say sweet victory?
You know, I'd love to perform that. Yeah. They don't have the performance quality quite yet for that one. They'd botch it. Maybe one day.
Matthias, I know you wrote out some other questions. I have some, but I was going to give you the chance to.
Oh, just a couple general questions to start with. You already addressed choosing Portobello as a hamster, but why did each of you choose the specific characters and species that you did?
I'll be. Okay. Well, okay. I'll go.
You go.
Sorry. Okay. I kind of decided when I was thinking about what character I wanted to do. I do like to do what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, I like to definitely do unique characters, and I like being able to use ridiculous voices that are not my own. And one of my favorite parts of reading Redwall when I was little was the little baby animals speaking in there. Yeah, I mean, that was just like my favorite thing. So when I was imagining what kind of character I wanted to play, I was like, oh, I've got to play this. I'm definitely going to be a little cute baby animal. But then, I mean, from there, I definitely developed, Portobello has layers. He's a growing kid, boy, and he has all kinds of ambitions, but he's totally ignorant. And, I mean, I know as a person, I do cutesy very well. That's one of my strong points. So I played into that, choosing that character for sure.
I loved when he was learning about flirting.
And you're a young lady.
I call someone a young lady.
I know. It still makes me laugh when I think about it. I have to try so hard not to get in giggle fits by my, what I am instantly coming up with Portobello saying. I think it's so funny as Hannah.
It killed me every time I was editing those sections, and I'm like I usually edit in the mornings, so I'm trying to stifle my own laughter because Tia's still sleeping in the bedroom. I'm just like, oh no.
Right.
Oh man, I think for digs, I usually start with a character concept, and I usually try to pick an aspect of myself and then just exaggerate it to the nth degree, and the one I wanted to go with was I wanted to go with the idea of bold, someone who's rushing in to danger, or really just wants to like tell like a what's the word? Wants to be the kind of the center of attention sort of thing. So I went with that, and we were looking at the party, and I think I was the last one to make a character, but we had Portobello, who was a young kid, and then we had Clementine, who was an old lady. So I kind of to fill in that slot, we picked like a badger, so that way we can have like a well-rounded party. And that's where I also kind of got the name of Diggs for like Cedric Diggory, who is in the Hufflepuff house, who is
awesome.
Who their crest
Nice.
is a badger. So I was like, okay, cool, this is a cool name. So yeah.
And then Tessa, when she was creating Clementine, I don't know how she necessarily came across it, but the two things that I know about when she chose her character was, one, there is a huge underrepresentation of elderly heroes, and so she wanted to kind of fill that niche and make it more mainstream. Not that we're mainstream in any sense, but she wanted to put an elderly hero character out there because they're so, they're wise and things, and it's not necessarily, I mean, there's like Gandalf, right? Who can both kick some rear end and give sage advice, right? And then
Professor McGonagall?
Yeah, and there's like a few more, but that list isn't very long. So she wanted to add a character to that list. She chose Squirrel because for like the backstory that she wanted, she based it in real, I guess, ecological facts where there are red squirrels and brown squirrels, and red squirrels are continuously taking over the territory of the brown squirrels and like kicking them out of their habitats. It's crazy and strangely racist in the animal kingdom, where that's what's happening. Like the red squirrel is technically an invasive species almost everywhere it is, and they just take over the habitats of brown squirrels. So she wanted to have this play on this imperialism that we could put into this world that I just took. When she told me, I said, yes, this is how squirrels are going to behave in this world. I think that's very interesting. And so she put those two together, and then now there's Clementine. And it's, I don't know, I think it's a main driver in the world that we've created together because of the backgrounds that they've chosen.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I never realized that was based on actual animal behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now we know what Mr. Squirrel got up to after he left.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know it's a bad. I know we run that running gag almost into the ground, but I couldn't resist. So.
And then for a few of the NPCs, I don't know. It depends. Once again, I wanted there to be a strong, rat around that was good. So Captain Fangpierce,
and she's also like a lady. Yeah,
she's also a lady in charge of the police force. That was important to me. Namora Spike, I don't know why, but I think that the most chef-like race is a hedgehog. That's just what I think. So I made Namora Spike a hedgehog. Who else is in here? Eddie Redmayne. He's a fox because I wanted to have a fox do something that's not, all tricky, and he's meek and quiet because that's, a different personality, and it's, clearly based off of Edward Redmayne or Eddie Redmayne. It's Edward Redmayne in the thing. Anyways, you get the point. And so I'm just, I don't know, I was coming up with things. The villain is a mouse for reasons that I'm not going to divulge. The frog family is my favorite kind of origin. They're all foxes because they're based off of a family of good friends that Hannah and I have that we work with, Trent Fox. And then Cammy Fox, and they have a kid named Willow Fox, and their big life goal is to open up like a tea shop or coffee shop one day and call it Burrow Brews because the last name is Fox, and it's super duper cute. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make this a reality, at least in the fiction of this podcast.
That's awesome.
Yeah. They're a family of foxes. They own Burrow Brews. They're in there. They're called the Frog Family because I wasn't just going to name the foxes the Fox Family. Plus, it was going to be an interesting thing where I misled Eric super duper hard, and then he would act
me too.
super surprised. Yeah, so that's that's how that came about, and I can't think of anything special for any other NPCs.
Well, if you, with Eric mentioning he wants a kangaroo friend, you could probably write in a tree kangaroo as comparable size.
Oh.
Yes. Very cool.
Or perhaps maybe a wallaby or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Aubrey, you'd have to get the voice down.
I gotta work on my accents more. It's the time I'm gonna
Yeah.
spend in my car the next week. Is just working on new voices before I introduce new characters.
Apologies to our Australian listeners. I just happened to model this a little bit after, Finding Nemo, the various characters from that, and of course the Crocodile Hunter.
That's pretty good.
And so, what's the fandom reaction generally been? I mean, yes, we when I saw who you are, I was like, oh, hey, folks, look, another Redwall podcast, go listen. But outside of what we've done, what's kind of been the reaction so far?
Ooh. Well, it's been overwhelmingly positive, I would say. And what I really mean by that is just that there's been no negativity towards it. It seems nobody has outwardly said something rude or mean or criticized us for what we're doing in any way. It's generally been, oh my goodness, I have to check that out. Whether they do or don't, it doesn't really matter. But people generally say that, or they ignore us. So that's, that's really the only two reactions we've gotten. Where, like, I went to PodCon with another podcaster from our network, Austin. We were up there, PodCon 2, just kind of, trying to advertise all of our stuff. And when people were asking about our shows, you'd get to, okay, and this is if you give a mouse a dagger. It's an actual play Fate Core podcast set in the Redwall universe. And people either went, and then instantly grabbed the sticker like as fast as they could, or they're like, okay, which meant they'd never read the books before, so they had no idea what I was talking about.
Yeah.
It's literally this or that. It seems like everybody who's read the books before looks at it and goes, okay, I might do this. So it's been nice. And then, of course, your support has been excellent, and everybody else that seems to be a fan of the series, after they give a little bit of a listen, a lot of times they'll, post it out there, say, hey guys, check this out. It seems like they're doing a good job. So we are overly humbled by that, because I don't think ever in our wildest dreams we would think somebody else would listen to us talk or play fake fantasy games for 45 minutes and then go, oh, that was enjoyable. Like, it just, that never crossed our minds as we
like
thought about
someone
it.
else laughing at our
Yeah.
jokes. Wait, people think we're funny?
People think they were funny. Well, people think Hana's funny, and then
That's
there's
fair.
3 other people on the podcast. That's how it works.
Very valid point.
It's Portobello, honestly, though.
Yeah, I
Oh,
admit,
so
I admit Portobello is a lot of fun for me to listen to.
Yeah.
So-
so are you
same.
gonna rename it?
We have fun, huh?
So you're gonna rename it Portobello and Friends?
That will be like the children's books that are published based on Portobello's adventures eventually.
Oh, so easy readers.
Yeah.
I happen to agree. When we launched about, I guess, a year or so before you guys, back in 2017, and other than some good-natured disagreements from the fandom about our opinions on one book or another, particularly Outcast, yeah, it's always been positive. No one's been like, oh, this is terrible, you guys are reviewing my childhood and you're making fun of it or being critical about it. No, everyone's generally been positive. But there's been a couple of people like, no, I liked Vale. I'm like, okay, that's fair. I didn't.
Yeah.
Sorry, I really didn't.
Yeah, I
So-
think the only negative reaction we got was this person who was like, "You're making fun of my favorite book," and then she realized that she got the wrong podcast or something.
Yeah, there was
Oh.
that. That
That's
one, I
fine.
forgot about her. So that was really early on, actually.
Okay.
So couple of character specific questions. What is Portobello's favorite thing in his pockets? And if Diggs didn't have a poleaxe, what kind of weapon would he use?
Okay. Well, if Portobello has any food in there, that's automatically his favorite thing. But he did stuff a cog in there, and that came in handy. in the series, so that was fun for him. And he's supposed to tell adults that his favorite thing is his toothbrush.
Nice.
Okay.
I think if Diggs did not use a pole axe, he probably used like a glaive, like another pole arm, something that he can like twirl around and get people's attention with. That kind of thing, some sort of pole
Yeah.
arm.
Something showy.
Yeah, exactly. Or like a halberd of some kind. That's the other one that comes to mind.
Like a super long spear with like a nice cross tree, maybe some colored ribbon tied on it or something.
Yes, very much so.
Hey, you know what we should do, Eric, is create a slingshot for Diggs that's Portobello size so that we could just really...
A hamster
Like-
chucker?
Yeah.
A hamster chucker.
Or a cannon, hamster cannon.
There we go. Just have a catapult on like a strapped catapult to his back, so he just has to like get on all fours and just boom.
Right. Yeah, once we're like master fighters, that'll be the next step.
Aubrey,
say-
what do I have to do to make this?
We'll roll a few crafting rolls, but we'll do that later.
I got it at a +2. I can do it.
I believe
I was
in
gonna
you.
say save it for like a Final Fantasy style limit break. So
You're
Yeah.
like those team smashes or stuff like that. Oh, that'd be so good.
So I know, Eric, you mentioned you're just getting into the franchise, but for those of you who have read a decent chunk, is there a favorite book or even character you can think of?
Well, when I was younger, Salamandastron was my favorite, but it's been so long. And the only one I've reread recently is the first one. So, I mean, I don't have too much of a reference point, but I enjoyed rereading that one for sure. I like the sparrows. That was my favorite.
They're great.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're after my own heart there because at least for me growing up, Salamander Storm was my favorite. I'm gonna probably nerd out just a little if we don't already. When we get there in a few episodes.
I don't know. I love Mossflower personally. That's one of my favorites for sure. And I recently just reread Redwall, like the first one, just to make sure I don't ruin anything. And I mean, it's so good. It's I don't know. You can't mess with the original that much.
No, I think that's why so many games put their games in that that time frame actually, because they wanted to pay respect to the original.
It's just so kind-hearted, and that's what I like about it so much. And it's technically very predictable, and everything always works out. But like that's so nice sometimes, just like a good march.
You just need a good hug.
Yeah. It's a good
So that's
cuddle
what
book.
Clooney needed. He just needed a hug.
There you go.
And you know that Belle definitely gave him one. Just it was a little too eager though, I guess.
I'm only in chapter 14.
All right, fine. Well, spoiler, Eric. You're on a.
No, I came prepared. Redwall podcast.
Sorry, you said hug, and all I can think of is My Little One, Woodlanders, Friendship is Magic.
No.
I apologize.
Oh my god.
So I was wondering, the music is lovely. Where did you compose it or did you find it somewhere?
Aubrey.
That was all you.
Yeah, I do it.
Wow.
I do it myself.
I love
So-
that. That is so awesome.
Oh,
It's
thank you
fantastic.
so
It
much.
is awesome.
I don't know. It's I really started composing again when I started teaching and just felt like I had no outlet for my creativity anymore. Like you have to be creative to teach well. You got to come up with new ways to teach kids things. Otherwise, they don't learn. And, you know, there are always some kids that don't get it the first 23 times you explain it. But when you find the 24th different way to say something, like they get it. So you have to be creative in that aspect. But like I've always been a musician and I have played an instrument for so long. It's been such a major part of my life that when all of a sudden I was teaching music instead of playing it, like I didn't feel like I was being creative anymore. So I started composing again. I started making podcasts and then I combined the two. So Like, I can tell you some of the inspirations for some of it. The opening theme, what I did was I took the Redwall cartoon opening theme and I listened to it about 100 times. And then I went, okay, let's make something that sounds a lot like this, but is my own. So then, it starts out with some French horns in it. I'm like, okay, I'll take that little bit. And then it's got this little, like this jig, this dance going on. I like a good 3/4 old timey jig with some harp and some flute and these other things. And I just kind of, I changed the theme from this big epic French horn based theme to this dance theme, and then it fades out with the harp. And I was just trying to pay ode to the Redwall cartoon opening theme. And then from there, it's just my basic knowledge of music history and how, ye old medieval fantasy soundtracks sound like. So I've taken a lot of inspiration from like the Witcher soundtrack. It's probably one of the bigger ones that I've taken from. Yeah, it's so good. And just a few other things. I would mess
For
around.
Portobello's theme,
Yeah,
you asked me how it should sound, and I'm like, it needs to be super simple, and it should go from 5 to 1, which is basically it's a basic musical cadence, and it just happens over and over again.
right.
But
So
he did
I
that
took
so
that.
well.
Yeah, and I came up with doo doom doom doo 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 doom, and that's the whole Portobello theme. And I just kind of put that in however I can when Portobello is doing something, and it becomes more subtle and more subtle the more I reuse it because I don't want to get boring. And then Clementine is this old lady, and she comes from a place where squirrels are all fancy and things like that. And so I was like, oh well, I gotta play harpsichord and like basically make fun of Mozart. Right. And that's what I was doing. Like I would be like, okay, what would Mozart write here? And how ridiculous can I make it? And that's how I write. That's how I write for everything that has to do with Clementine or the Red Squirrels. Like that's how I do that. And then with Diggs, in the Diggs episode, I was thinking of like this big epic theme. One of the biggest things I took from was the Olympus theme that from Kingdom Hearts. If you've ever played that and played the Olympus Coliseum world, I took the music from that and I just remixed it to make it more Diggs like. And then I was like, well, when they fight, let's make it hardcore and totally out of character of everything that's happened so far in this podcast. So I was like, can I make a metal band soundtrack out of this? Oh, turns out I can. So I did that as well. And then just from there, it's just been picking instruments that fit the scene and then messing around on the good old MIDI keyboard until I find something I like.
That is awesome.
Sweet.
You should offer that album on the Patreon.
Yeah.
Hey.
When I get some time, I'm gonna take it all and I'll just put it on like, I don't know, some site. I don't think
Bandcamp.
Yeah, it's like a Bandcamp to like get it out there.
You can make an
Make some
overture.
page- I don't know. I'll mess around with it over the summer when I've got some stuff going on. When I have less-
I really
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's you.
I just wanted to say I really like the opening theme and the homage to the animated series. That was my introduction to Redwall back during its original run. So much so that after listening to the first 5 episodes, I am subconsciously humming the theme on my way to work.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Admittedly, when I was looking for ours, I mean, I can sing, and well, not that I'm trying to brag about that, but
Oh, you should own that.
but I can I don't have that kind of creative, at least that, I don't know, the musical talent. So our intro music, it's in our RSS feed. I'm gonna go ahead and credit the guy. Guy named Corey Gray. He called it Medieval Tension. And I was like, oh, that's medieval-ish. That'll work. So that was pretty much my thought process. I ran it by Jeremy, and he's like, yeah, sure, we'll go with that. It's free, as long as we credit him. So we did.
Woo!
So if you do make it to Redwall in the series, I do hope you make a Wicker Gate joke, because that's been one of our favorites here. It's disappearing and reappearing side gates. So
of indeterminate security. Anywhere from a swift kick to, yeah, that's going to take some dynamite to get through.
An impossible fortress. Oh man.
Well, we'll see. You'll see. I know.
You'll all
All
see.
right.
Spoilers.
I don't actually know. It depends on the character's actions and what they want to accomplish and where they're going and everything like that.
Well, Rock's fault. You all died. Sorry.
Yeah. I just set the scene. They fall into my traps and things like that. Like
It's your
not,
fault.
It's not my fault. It's your fault. You made the decision.
That is victim blaming, sir.
Yeah, it totally is.
That leads to a fantastic question. If your character died, who and what would you replace them with?
Oh my.
I already have a few.
I think everyone would quit the podcast if Portobello died.
If Portobello died, there's no reason to listen anymore. Like,
Nope.
I'm sorry, the
Um,
three of us are inferior in comparison to this character.
Hmm.
No,
Portobello
Clement's
died. I
fine.
might have to be his mom or something. It's-
I love
or
Clementine too,
Bungo.
and
Yeah.
Diggs. I just love everybody, so you know.
I love how it's so fun just being with Clementine. We're like, I just want to like shout out "You go, girl" so much, but that's not really my character. But it makes me so happy to have a strong old lady in the show, inserting her way into everything.
Oh yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Oh man. I have
Also, she's my sister, so like, it's just
Well,
fun to
yeah.
play with her.
I have an otter planned if Diggs dies that I'm kind of trying to be playing around with in my head. I haven't really like assigned a character aspect to it yet, but I definitely want to play an otter. And then I was looking up at some of the let me see some of the Redwall races that I saw. Since I learned about stoats for the first time, because I didn't know what a stoat was until we started playing, I kind of want to play a stoat as well. But as for like what characters, I haven't decided yet. I think it would definitely be the opposite of Diggs. I don't know, maybe like a roguish style character. Just
Oh yeah,
'cause-
that could be fun.
yeah. Like I don't think anyone wants to play the same character twice. So
Yeah.
Diggs
tend
had a
to be,
brother. Nobody knew
Diggs-
about.
When I play local, I tend not to do any kind of magic characters. They've been, Pathfinder or Dungeons and Dragons, but I really enjoy monks and just punching people. I'm not gonna lie
that's so
on that.
good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With the open hand monks, they're broken.
Yeah, that's fair.
Stunning strike every bonus action. Sorry.
I will say, just to throw this out there, to just quell your feelings about thinking about if Portobello dies, is that a good part of Fate is that in like combat there is a built-in option to where if you're in combat, you can just say, I concede the conflict. And what that means is that you get out of the fight and you don't die. Like, I cannot kill these characters even if I wanted to, which I don't. I'm huge fans of these characters and I love them to death, and I'm so emotionally attached to all three of them. The only reason any character on the show would die is if the player said, I'm done with this character, or I think this would be a fitting end to this character, or so on and so forth, something along those lines, and then we would together create the end of the storyline of that character. That's what would happen. That'd be the only way. So if they
This makes me so
ever
sad.
die, if they ever die, do not blame me. I don't want to hear the hate mail. I'm getting out in front of this right now. If Portobello dies, it's because Hana said, "Please kill my character." That's the only
Man,
reason why I
this
would
is-
ever do it.
This is giving me like Dumbledore's death feelings, where he's like, like, I'm choosing to die. No.
That's
No.
Yeah, I can't do that.
What have we done?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
I'm just saying it's not gonna happen. Like
No.
it wouldn't happen.
No, I think I've only had a character die once in all the tabletop I played. Because I literally was the first, again, playing a monk. I literally walked into the room, and the DM, with no small amount of personal enjoyment, because let's face it, all DMs have a sadistic streak at some points, literally put an evil monk right around the other side of the door and punched me to death before I could respond.
Jeez.
Because,
Whoa.
as Eric pointed out, I was kind of game breaking what he had planned out earlier. So
A more direct rocks falling, you die.
pretty
Yeah.
much.
Wait, Aubrey, so does the character have to concede or does the player have to concede?
Oh, I mean, if you were to take enough stress, if like you check out some stress boxes, or even before then,
Mm.
you just say, I'm gonna concede the fight, and then I would narratively say how you escaped it in some way.
Oh, okay.
And you know, the bad guys can too. I mean, it's a double-edged sword, right? So if you're beaten up on a bad guy real bad, I can make it to where the bad guy concedes the conflict and gets away. You know, it's plot armor is what it is. It's a literal mechanic of plot armor.
Okay.
So because Fate is a collaborative storytelling thing. It is not necessarily like a lot of other tabletop RPGs where, you know, there is a mechanic of death where you roll for it to see if you die or not, right? And it's just kind of this more of a combat experience like D&D is. Fate is about the story itself. It's built after a TV show system, like the way that it's all planned out. So, yeah. More plot armor mechanics.
Woo.
Oh, I'm out of questions. Matthias, you got anything else?
Well, we touched on it earlier. How much are you like your respective character?
I love this for Hana. Okay, let me answer for Hana just so she can get past it. If you were to peel away all of the complex layers of Hana LaFleur, I mean every little bit of it, and you get down to her essence, her id, who she really is, and her driving base, that is Portobello.
Yeah,
so you
no,
peel off
that's
all the
we
skin
had
and
a
the muscles
conversation
and the
about this.
bones and the guts, and then also there's a little hamster inside of her. And
Yeah, I mean, like I have the,
Just
you know,
something.
I try to present myself. I mean, I'm not a child in real life. Obviously, I'm a grown woman, and I'm a teacher, and I have rules and all this stuff. But yeah, when I'm not thinking, Portobello will just come out of my mouth sometimes, and that's how I know that Portobello is my id. Like if I'm in the kitchen and I'm daydreaming, I'll just start like, wah, 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 wah. It's so embarrassing. Every now and then I'll say something, and Aubrey will look at me, and I'm like, I'm so sorry that just came out of my mouth. It came from deep within.
There's in the next episode that we'll be releasing, you will understand. I mean, it's Portobello sings a song. I can give you that much. So Portobello sings a song in the next episode that releases, and it's the way that Portobello sings it is literally how Hana breaks into song almost all the time.
Yeah, that's how I
Like
sing to my cat, honestly.
that's how she sings to the cat. That's what she does.
Also, Portobello's love for food, like I feel, and especially sweets. Like I have a sweet tooth all the time. Like, it's
Me too.
one of my driving forces. Yeah, it's definitely a big part of my life is thinking about meals. So, yeah, that's me.
Eric?
I'm trying to think. I think the only thing I really have in common with Diggs is that I'm loud and proud, generally.
You're very loud.
Loud, loud. Yes,
Loud.
you have a great laugh.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What?
I don't know. Yeah, I think that's what I generally have, and I'm generally like up for anything. Like with like Diggs, like I don't know. I'm generally go with the like we'll try anything at least once. So
Well, and you're a leader, at least in all of the games that we play, and that's definitely with Diggs as well. So
Yeah. I
Matt
mean,
is a leader.
we haven't really explored a lot of Diggs' sense of like we present him as this, you know, big showy does everything for glory kind of thing, but you know that past that that facade that he's got going on, that Diggs is just a good, kind-hearted person that would do anything for anybody if they asked. And that is Eric Jaimez at his core. Is just a really nice person that would do anything for anybody. And
Aw.
so I think that there is a huge connection there that we just haven't explored yet in the podcast.
Oh, I'm gonna cry.
Okay, don't.
I can say for Tessa is an intellectual for sure, just like Clementine is, and she is very brave in her own ways, just like Clementine is. So there's that. Always sticking up for people. Tessa does that too. She's vegan,
Yeah.
so those who don't have voices, she has the voice for them.
Aw.
Yeah.
I am okay. Out of all the NPCs that I have presented, I am remotely ashamed to say that the person I am closest to is the main villain, Mr. Dolly. That is, I have
Nice.
taken a lot of myself, just like the things that I don't like to necessarily admit about myself, but I know that they're there, and I throw it, and I put it into this character, is what I did. I just mean terribly ambitious. I am much better about it now, but I used to be at a point where I would step on anybody's head in order to get a leg up, right? Like that's who I used to be. And so I was like, well, I know how that works, so here you go. I love playing pranks on people in certain ways. And so, I mean, the whole first 5 episodes is just one big prank played by Mr. Dolly. So, I mean, that's part of it. And I mean, I can't get into a lot of other details of what personality traits I'm throwing in there, but I mean, like the things that make me a Slytherin and the things that make me, because let's see, I guess both Eric and Hannah can attest to this, but in the other Fate game that I run for them, we play a bunch of superheroes and I run that Fate game, is that for some reason I'm really good at emotionally manipulating people into feeling what I want them to
Oh.
feel, even for their characters.
Jeez.
Like there's this one arc that we did where I swear between every session I would get hate texts from the players. They're not real hate texts, but just like, I hate you and the fact that you're making me feel the feelings of my character. And we play on Wednesdays and it's Sunday and I feel I'm just like, I'm angry about the circumstances. Like I don't know. I guess I would say I can be manipulative. I do
Well,
not
you do
stop
that for a
that way.
living.
I do that for I guilt the
That's
shit
what
out
we
of people.
have to do. Yeah.
I do that. I make them feel really bad about their actions and choices
Yeah.
when they make bad decisions. But I mean, that's who I've put the most of myself into, and maybe later I'll put myself into another NPC, like the better aspects, the good, well, those aspects, but framed in a positive light, I guess, in a different NPC. But for right now, I most like the villain, so that's fun.
That's always like the benefit of like role playing games and really just telling like a good story is like investing yourself in these characters and exploring different parts of yourself in a safe space. So yeah, I don't know. I've maybe like also getting a better understanding of those aspects, which you explained earlier with Mr. Dolly.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason why I put so much of me into this fictional character is the fact that I wanted to make sure that in the end of this campaign that this villain is moderately relatable to people and that you could understand his motives, and the only way for other people to understand his motives is for me to understand them, and the best way for me to understand them is for me to, truly relate to it. So, I think there's that. Hope that wasn't too much. But there you go. That's my answer.
Cool. And I guess I only have one other like really nagging question. You talked about being, a future setting in the Redwall universe. So is this kind of like an Avatar: The Last Airbender to Legend of Korra thing where it went from being like decent-ish, medieval-ish kind of technology to like steampunk sort of thing, where you're taking the setting and just fast forwarding technologically, what kind of things did you want to add? I mean, I definitely get the sense of a more, maybe not industrialized, but a more civilized type village/city setting, going from like the 1500s, fast forwarding to like the mid 1700s ish.
Yes, I wanted to make sure that there were more, I guess closer to modern civilizations, where it wasn't just like these kingdoms that were just spread out and was purely just like one species and things like that. I wanted to make sure that there was a hub where you could find any species and every profession in there. I wanted to make, Moss Flower City a centralized area that the characters could go back to and say, I want this thing now. And I could say, okay, you can find it here in this city. I wanted to make sure that the characters had that. It was very important to me. So that's where the more modern civilization kind of thing comes to. When it comes to technology, I really didn't want to fast forward in that sense. I didn't want it to become the Industrial Revolution. It's why you're not going to see guns in this at all. And you may see some new things, some new mechanical ideas that are going on, but you're
Do we
not
have
going to
printed books yet?
I don't even know if the printing press has been invented. I'm gonna go with no for right now.
Okay.
I think everything's
So
still
we still have
handwritten.
scribes. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and there's not going to be any steam engines or vehicles going on or anything like that. It's going to be very medieval era technology, and I wanted to make sure that I did that because we don't know what's going to happen in the future of this podcast. We could get to the end of this campaign, the villain is defeated, Redwall Abbey has been found, the affliction has been cured, yada 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 yada, and then we, as the four of us, have to step back and go, okay, what's next?
Right.
And yeah, like we have to do that at some point. And the thing about sequels is you could do more of the same, but that's not really a sequel. That's just an addition, an add-on, a DLC, if you will. And then, but in order to have a good sequel, a good like season 2, if we get there, something's got to be new. So maybe that's where we introduce new technology. Maybe that's where we introduce all these obscure species. Maybe that's where we introduce, aliens. I don't know. Like there's got to be something that we got to do. And I think that I'm saving technology for something like that if we ever get there. Because right now, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And what we got ain't broke. So that's that.
Cool. I can understand that.
Yeah. No, I would probably do the same. I wouldn't. Maybe advance technology just a little bit, but not nearly past what anything that's. Yeah, guns would be definitely out, or I might do the printing press. So.
Right. Well, I mean, that's if you've listened to episode 4, then you know. Is it 4? Yeah, it's 4. If you've listened to episode 4, like you know that there's this new technology that has been created. It's literally just thrown out there and explained of how it works and everything. And so we're not afraid of the idea. It is just going to be, it's going to be smaller steps is what it's going to be. Do you guys have any other questions?
No, I don't think so.
No, I'm good. Katie, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I had a list, but most of them have already been answered. I think the one that I was curious about was the music, and that's one I asked. So, yeah. Yay! Yay, music!
Yay!
Yay, music!
Yay, music!
So, I'd probably laugh if you did sneak a Mr. Squirrel reference in there, but yeah, no worries.
Well,
I don't know if it's a running joke on our show. Let me, if you have not familiar, in the very first original Redwall book, Jess has a husband who is only named Mr. Squirrel. And by the time Man of Mail rolls around, he is completely gone.
Yeah,
Like when
he's
the
not in there at all.
No.
Yeah.
So one of the things we covered back in that time when we covered that book was like, what happened? Like,
Where's Mr. Squirrel?
and he's not even in the animated series, but well, Jess is barely in the animated series, so.
Yeah, which makes me sad.
Yeah, which is sad. She's such a good character, in my opinion.
Oh, I'm looking forward
yeah.
to getting to season 2 of that because it means we get to hear Tim Curry as Slygar.
Yay!
Oh God,
That's
I
gonna
forgot
be
that
awesome.
was Tim Curry.
Yeah.
Wow. Tim Curry's like discography is just
My favorite is Pirates
crazy.
of the Plane. I have to throw that out there. I have to say Pirates of the Plane is one of my favorite Tim Curry movies.
It's up there from me too, but
It's enough about Tim Curry. We're talking about Redwall.
That's okay. We go on tangents all the time.
yeah, we do.
Oh yeah, there's our constant running gag of where do all the
constant running
orphans from
gag.
Redwall?
Oh,
Yes, there are so many orphans. So many orphans.
And I didn't realize till I was rereading this on how drugged out the Badger Lords of Salamanderstron are. It
yeah.
doesn't come up in every book, but some of them get high on, we're not even told what kind of herbs, but they get into trance and they start carving things on their walls and they're missing for 3 days and
Whoa!
yeah.
They have a nice bender. That's Diggs' future. Diggs is gonna be a drug addict. That's gonna be his personal arc that we have to solve.
He's gonna see some things. Oh no!
Nah. There is other character development that will happen for Diggs.
Yeah, and if you like orphans, then you'll like the next episode.
Oh my God, those orphans.
There is actually a question. I was kind of curious if you're gonna use Bloodwrath at all for Diggs or any other character for that matter.
Ooh, that's what you're gonna have to listen and find out. But the short answer is I love the idea of Bloodwrath, and I will not, nix it from the podcast. But
There
I'm
you
not gonna say if Diggs can use it or anything else like that. I mean, that honestly, if Diggs wants to use it, that's up to Eric, and we'll talk about it and we'll figure it out. Eric also has to understand what the Bloodwrath is. So
Yeah, I'm currently looking up on Redwall Wikipedia. What is this Bloodwrath?
He hasn't gotten that far yet, but
And let me give it to you this way: it's a berserker mode. So,
Oh, jeez. Okay.
yeah,
I don't know if it's been explored yet, but one of the reasons why people are so scared of the main villain in this campaign and they're freaked out about it is because, the Bloodwrath is part of the legends that everybody knows about, and this mouse has blood red eyes, and so they just kind of right. So, I mean, that's part of it. It hasn't really been explored yet, but I mean, it'll be dropped from time to time.
I mean, I think our favorite example of this that was actually both funny and disturbing in its implications, and we covered this in Mariel Redwall, was that Badger Lord. Not only did he get Bloodwrath, he managed to carve his way through an entire 100 crew strong of sea rats, and then when we find him, he's happily asleep on the beach like he's a freaking kid.
Yep.
What?
Yes.
It got dark.
Very dark and funny. So.
Whoa!
Darkly funny.
Complete with a barely surviving rat with PTSD, just like the rat or the badger, just he's there.
Yeah.
Okay. Isn't this like a children's fantasy book? Isn't that the purpose of Redwall?
Well, it's pretty. It gets pretty dark.
Times were different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's weird, like what was, I guess, normal, or just depending on where books are published or when they're published, like what's considered acceptable for young readers and what's not considered acceptable, like in our time versus that time, and it is just funny.
There's a point in Manameo where the badger in that one, Orlando, stops to literally wipe the gore off his axe.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
because he's been killing cult rats this entire time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that and the number of either crushed limbs, crushed bodies, Characters that get burned, a couple of decapitations here and there. Yeah,
Mhm.
it happens.
You know, for kids.
Poor kid.
Yeah. But in the end, love wins.
Yes.
That was
I
the
mean,
true
yeah,
infliction
there's
the whole time.
gross stuff. Yeah, I mean, we try to stay away from the super gory descriptions because we are marketing ourselves as a family-friendly podcast.
As are we. We
But
call
yeah,
ourselves Dippin' Friendly.
we just have to. Yeah, we just try to stay away from that. But that's all digs. So, we like
Yeah.
Eric's the only one who would ever have the opportunity to say something super gory.
I think
So
using like the hammer part of the pole axe more than the axe
Yeah.
part.
yeah, we got to work a little bit more on making sure that the descriptions of you beating up the bad guys revolves around them, you like tripping them and they bunk their head and they're out cold, and, and
They
things
were
like
so
that.
bruised that they left.
I do have to say we did a really good editing job with that fight in the Smith Stotzian, where I mean there are just points where Eric's just like, yeah, and I take my end of the pole axe and I just run him straight through the gut, and like all the other things. And after he edited it, I go through the second edit and I was like, let's see if I can edit this to where it just seems like he picked him up and threw him on the ground. Yep, I can do it. There you go. Now he just picked him up and threw him on the ground. Much less violent, much less stabby.
Well, Eric, there's always the Lord Brocktree method of taking out your hated opponent. You just give them a hug until their spine breaks.
Jeez. I think like these will supposed to be like a brawler, like uses his fists a lot, so maybe I'll start doing that. Like death hugs for
I'll
everyone.
give you more opportunities by taking away your weapons if you want to. I'll just be like, oh, it disappears. I don't
Oh
know.
no.
You can like scream in their face like it's Monsters Inc.
I am Clout Live.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a good excuse for blood wrath. Just blood wrath boxing or something.
Yeah, you get so angry that you just want to use your fists now.
That's totally within series canon. There's a number of badgers when they finally meet their most hated enemy, they toss away their weapon and then they just beat them down.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going.
Rhaegar, we're looking at you.
I'm so gonna box Mr. Dolly.
We'll see about that.
Oh, jeez. Yeah,
Yeah.
this blood wrath sounds scary.
And fun.
So much fun.
Yeah, it was one of our. Yeah, again, I'm calling up our own jokes here, but that was one of my favorite bits this year. Was the Blood Wrath buddy, like the Blood Wrath protocol? If the Long Patrol Hares had, if they lose their Badger Lord.
Yes. Now you remember the drills. Find your blood wrath buddy.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Do you have your blood wrath buddy?
But it's not limited to badgers because,
Right.
yeah, this theory's guiding spirit who likes to troll them, Martin the Warrior. Yeah, he did it a lot,
Yeah.
and had brain damage.
Poor guy.
Another running joke.
Yep, sorry.
He got knocked unconscious a lot.
Hell, I'm looking at the official Redwall Wikia page. They say Matthias, Jess Squirrel had it. Yeah, Martin's dad. That's expected. And a bunch of characters we haven't gotten to yet. So.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
So
Still
many
cool.
spoilers.
Well, I think that should wrap us up unless anybody else has follow-ups.
I just want to comment that I was so happy when Pete mentioned on the podcast that you guys were a thing because, like, there are almost no Redwall podcasts, and I was like, "There's another one!" I was so
Yeah.
excited.
Well, it's so cool to be with you guys. The other one.
Yeah.
The other Redwall podcast.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I don't know, it's such a cool opportunity that we have as fans of the series to be able to come together and say, "Hey, we both like this thing. Let's talk about it for an
Yeah.
hour." You know, like that's so cool that we get to do that.
Well, that and the fact that when you're a part of a podcast, it's not really as enjoyable to go back and listen to it because it's just like, I was a part of that conversation. I remember where that's going.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes when I edit things that we, when I'm
Yeah.
editing, I'm going back through. I find the really funny moments that I just forgot about.
Yeah.
That's
Same
one of
here.
the things. Like, because I edit the other podcast that me, Hannah, and Eric do, Charlie and the Monster Factory. That's my thing, and I just forget almost all the jokes that we do, or all the times that Debbie and Alex are so funny, and so like I like that. I'm not gonna listen to it after that, but I do also understand that if you listen to it so many times that it gets frustrating, because when I'm composing music, I'm like, I don't want to listen to this one line again and try to find the perfect musical moment for it.
I admit when I usually listen to the episodes at least once for editing, and I'll sometimes go back over it in my car to see where there's things I can improve. But yeah, there are times I've forgotten where a conversation is going, and then suddenly I'm laughing out loud with it. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I definitely listen to them when they come out on my feed.
Well, man. Well, thank you so much for having us on.
Yeah, thank you.
absolutely, you guys are
Cool.
always welcome on in the show. So
Yes. Thank you so
before
much.
we get to our
This was fun.
own website and social media, what's yours?
All right. So if you give a mouse a dagger, we are a part of the Positive Thoughts podcast network. So you can catch all of our stuff at positivethoughts.com/mousedagcast. That is PODSITIVE thoughts.com/mousedagcast. We are on the Twitter sphere at mousedagcast. You can go check us out there. We haven't done one in a while, but we do things like every Sunday Portobello gives a recipe. So
Hey, it's Sunday. I should
hey,
do
it's
that today.
Sunday. We should do that before I would go to sleep. And then I mean we do fun things like that. And you can just find our podcast on most apps out there. All your favorite, whatever your favorite podcatcher is, we're probably there.
And you can find our show at recorderonthewall.com. We are on Twitter at ROTWPOD. That's our primary email, ROTWP. Yeah! ROTWpod at gmail.com. We are on iTunes and Google Play Podcasts as our primary distribution points. And you can always go to our website to get the episodes directly.
And we're on the forum and the Reddit.
Thank you. I think you can find both of our podcasts on the Redwall forums, the official one sponsored by Penguin, as well as the Redwall subreddit Arulalia. Yeah, the subreddit has been really good to us. Like I've literally in the grad school, I was like, "Hey, would people be interested if I did this?" And just the amount of response was like, "Oh my god!" So
That's gonna be
Awesome.
reaffirming.
yeah, it was. So
Yes, and people liked me on there too. Yay!
Yeah.
It was validating.
And they put up with my bad jokes.
and Drew and Jeremy's puns, of which there are many.
I like the puns.
Well, again, thank you guys for coming on the show. You're always welcome to come on board, and I look forward to see where your story goes.
Me too.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you once
you.
again for having us.
Yeah.
All right, now get back into the closet, retie all of your ropes, and put on the gag.
Fine.
Okay.
I'm running away now.
No, Katie, you're cool. You can stay.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Hey.
Goodbye. Put the gag. There we go.